I knew the company was rotten the day I watched our CFO present my own fraud prevention framework to the board like he dreamed it up in the shower. I'd built that framework over 6 months of unpaid weekends, cross-referencing vendor invoices against tax filings, while also studying for my CPA exam at 11 p.m. with cold coffee and a highlighter. He got a round of applause. I got a calendar invite titled Sync on deliverables 3 days later. That was the shape of my life at Kessler Advisory Group. I was Renee Okafor, Senior Tax Compliance Analyst, the person who kept the company from accidentally lying to the IRS, and somehow also the person nobody remembered to thank. If you've ever explained a filing deadline to an executive who responded with "Can we just push that back? It's making the quarter look bad," you already know exactly the kind of purgatory I lived in. So I stopped trying to be seen. I started building an exit instead. 3 nights a week, I drove to a 24-hour diner near my apartment, ordered black coffee I never finished, and worked through my CPA materials while the rest of the leadership team posted vacation photos with captions about grinding season. I wasn't trying to inspire anyone. I just wanted options. And speaking of options, this story's about to take one nobody at Kessler saw coming. Stick with me, because the ending is the kind of quiet, documented, can't argue with it justice that took 11 months to fully land. Kessler Advisory Group had built its whole brand around modern finance with heart, which in practice meant the executive team treated tax compliance like a suggestion and treated me like the office's personal seatbelt alarm. Annoying until the moment they actually needed it. Our CEO, Grant Kessler, had inherited the firm from his father and ran it like an improv show, all charisma, no substance. His younger brother-in-law, Tyler, had recently been installed as head of client experience, a title that meant absolutely nothing except that he now sat in on meetings about tax strategy and asked things like, "Can we make the audit trail feel more personal?" I didn't laugh at his jokes. I didn't compliment his branded hoodies. I just kept quietly making sure Kessler's filings didn't collapse under their own carelessness, reconciling misclassified expenses, correcting understated income on quarterly filings, and rewriting client-facing tax summaries that executives had simplified into something legally indefensible. They liked that I was quiet. They mistook it for loyalty. It happened at the company's fall client appreciation dinner, a rented rooftop space with string lights and a signature cocktail named after the CFO's golden retriever. I was nursing a sparkling water because I had a tax law exam the next morning when Tyler found me by the bar. "Renee," he said, loud enough for the 2 nearby account managers to hear, "I heard you're still doing the whole CPA thing on the side. Kind of intense for someone at your level, no?" He smiled like he'd said something charming. "We really need people who are all in on Kessler, not studying for their next move during company events." A few people laughed, that thin, nervous laugh people do when they know it was cruel but want to stay on the right side of the person who said it. I just smiled, set my glass down, and said nothing. I'd already mentally clocked out of caring what that room thought of me. For hours later, still in my dinner dress, I got a calendar invite for 8 a.m. the next morning. Subject line, "Quick check-in." I knew exactly what that meant. HR called it a mutual transition opportunity. The HR director, a woman named Paige who spoke exclusively in workshop language, told me Kessler valued authenticity and alignment, and that lately I'd seemed less engaged with the collective vision. I asked one direct question. "Who's taking over my compliance filings?" She hesitated. "We're thinking Tyler can absorb some of it, with support from the finance team. He's been wanting more ownership." Tyler, who thought a 1099 was a phone plan. I nodded slowly and said I'd consider the exit package. She looked relieved, mistaking my calm for surrender the same way everyone at Kessler always had. What she didn't know: I was the firm's sole registered enrolled agent authorized to sign and submit several of our clients' quarterly IRS filings. Removing me didn't just remove an employee. It removed the one person legally allowed to certify certain documents, and nobody had asked me to formally transfer that authorization to anyone else. I wasn't going to remind them. I came in the next morning like it was any other Wednesday. No box, no scene. I backed up my personal files, old tax notes, a photo of my dog, a half-finished CPA capstone paper titled Institutional Risk and Delegated Compliance, which would turn out to be more prophetic than I intended. I wrote one final email addressed to HR, Grant, and the finance team. This message serves as formal notice of my immediate resignation from my role as Senior Tax Compliance Analyst and Enrolled Agent of Record for Kessler Advisory Group. Please ensure all IRS power of attorney designations and e-file authorizations reflecting my name are updated promptly to avoid submission errors on behalf of clients. Wishing you all continued success. Renee Okafor. Clean. Precise. No bitterness. I hit send, dropped my badge at the front desk, and walked out into the cold morning air feeling lighter than I had in 3 years. The next morning, a friend still inside sent me a screenshot of the internal Slack. Grant. Renee's out. Tyler can just keep filing under her old login for now until we sort out the paperwork, right? Finance intern. I don't think that's how e-file authorization works legally. Grant, we'll circle back. Let's not spook clients before Q4 close. They filed anyway. Under my credentials. 2 days after I'd formally resigned and asked them in writing to update the authorization. I didn't warn anyone. I wasn't trying to hurt them. I was just done being the only thing holding the structure up. I spent that week finishing my CPA exam prep and letting the quiet do what it needed to do. Came exactly the way these things always do, quietly, then all at once. An old contact from a professional tax conference, an IRS enrolled agent liaison named Priya Anand, emailed me directly. Hi Renee, just a routine flag. We've noticed continued e-filings under your EA number after your resignation date on record with our office. Wanted to check in before we open an inquiry. I replied plainly. Hi Priya, I resigned from Kessler last week and formally requested my authorization be revoked in writing. I'm no longer affiliated with the firm or responsible for any filings submitted after that date. Feel free to contact their legal counsel directly. Then I forwarded the whole thread to my attorney with one line. Heads up, they're about to learn what unauthorized filing actually means. Within a week, an IRS compliance review landed on Kessler's doorstep. Filings submitted under my EA number after my resignation were flagged as unauthorized submissions. A serious problem for a firm whose entire business was built on trustworthy tax representation. Clients started asking questions. A few pulled their accounts entirely, unwilling to have their returns tangled in a firm under federal review. Tyler, in a genuinely unbelievable move, had posted a LinkedIn update the same week titled Compliance is a Mindset, featuring a stock photo of a calculator with sunglasses on it. It got shared internally as a joke before someone quietly deleted it. Grant's attorneys reached out to mine 2 weeks later with an offer. A short-term consulting contract, generous pay, to help stabilize the transition. I had my attorney send back one paragraph declining, noting I preserved all relevant records and remained available only if formally subpoenaed. They weren't. But the IRS review became a matter of public record in a regional business journal 3 months later, right around the time Kessler's largest institutional client quietly moved its account to a competitor. I passed my CPA exam 2 months after I left. I now run a small tax advisory practice built entirely around the principle Kessler never understood. Compliance isn't a vibe, it's a boundary, and boundaries don't bend just because someone with a nicer title wants them to. I still think about that rooftop dinner sometimes, the laughter, the dismissiveness, the assumption that quiet meant weak. What none of them understood was that quiet, when it's backed by a paper trail, is the loudest thing in the room. If you've ever been the person holding a company together while everyone else got the credit, remember this. You don't owe anyone your silence forever. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply stop catching what they refuse to notice is falling.